Hey everybody, welcome to the Geek Reloading podcast. I am your host Adam, and as always, my co-host is Josh.
Hello.
And we have, it feels like it's been a while, man. We did like a lot in a row, and then life happened.
We just miss each other, so we just want to hang out. So we just have
it's a good excuse to hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good excuse.
Amen.
So we have a couple really fun episodes, but this one is actually one that I love talking about this in general, because this is one of the best parts about gaming. We have the most interesting weapons and power-ups in gaming.
Really, like, you got a good point. Like, this is kind of one of those extra special things about gaming. Like, even like normal farming simulation that's just kind of same as, real life in a lot of ways. There's still power-ups that make things better. And so, yeah, it's a great part of gaming.
Yeah. And guess who forgot to turn off his fan? This guy. We're going to keep going.
Oh, it's
all right. Oh, listen how quiet that got. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, back to the weapons. Yeah. So the one thing that's really cool about weapons and power-ups in gaming is that they can sometimes become just as iconic as the characters. That's something that doesn't happen in a lot of other, like, it happens that way in multiple genres like movies and books and stuff. There'll be like key points that suddenly become just as interesting as the characters. And I think that weapons in gaming is just a good combination. Well,
and it's also like they become iconic enough that they almost define the games that you're playing. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so let's just jump right in. The first one, like I wanted to put this all together, but like Mario, when you got the Fire Flower, is amazing. But when it really took off is in Mario 3 for me, when you get the raccoon suit. That was so fun to fly. That was such a cool concept and different from what you've done before. And
it's something that you'd like. I don't think that, at least in the Mario world, it just created a whole new level of variable that you didn't have before in the gaming.
Yeah, really. Like it gave that. It wasn't just a side scroller, it scrolled up and down as well.
Yeah, and you disappeared off the screen.
Yeah, that was so fun.
Yeah.
And then,
like you could literally like disappear entirely off the screen and then come back.
And then if you didn't suck, like later on, like in higher worlds, you'd get a Tanuki suit. And it was the same thing, but you could freaking go into a stone statue. I thought that was so cool. Like it was such a cool power up and just out of nowhere. Like, yeah. Definitely good things to start with, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I'm scrolling through our list right now. Okay, so you didn't talk about any of the other Mario ones, but Mario has a ton of good power-ups. Like just in general. I think the Fire Flower, that's classic. The Star power-up, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is iconic as well.
Yeah, I think that one that a lot of people didn't really like, but I loved, and it was also in Mario 3, was when you got into the boot. Do you remember the little boot with the propeller?
I loved playing, but it was so like there was only 2 or 3 levels that you got it in.
That's right. But you could cross the little munchy plants walking in the boot. And the boot just kind of skipped along. I always loved getting the boot. That was my personal favorite one.
It was a fun one. Like and he just looked like he was just tucking himself down in it. It was just perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, this one both is for both of us, right?
Yes.
And I completely agree. And that is from Halo, the Energy Sword.
Well, my thing is, the reason why I put this on there was you start out the game, I mean, you've got a bunch of like weapons that you're shooting everyone, you've got guns everywhere, and you can punch people, but it's still like not very useful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then you get this badass sword. Holy crap, I was really surprised how awesome that turned out to be.
Well, a part of that is the gaming mechanic they attached to the energy sword, where you had just a little bit of lunge to the energy sword, where if you got within range, you didn't have to be right up against them like a rifle. And so you would have like a little bit, like a few feet more that you could jump into. And as soon as you got into that range, there's no stopping you without a shotgun or a grenade after the fact. But still, like, that's what made the energy sword cool. And also, the first time you encounter it, you don't pick it up. It's a elite coming at you with it, and you don't realize that it's a one-hit kill.
Yeah, and it was like, holy crap. And then all of a sudden, you get the chance to actually use it. Oh, that was awesome.
You know, Halo over the different games has been really good about bringing really fun weapons. Like, you got the grav hammer. You've got, fun. I mean, even in the first one, the plasma grenades are some of my favorite weapons of all time. I love the plasma grenades. Even the needler's fun.
The needler, I was going to mention that because the needler is just, you don't really have to be too accurate, but then all of a sudden you get this big pink mist. It's perfect.
Yeah, and also I actually like the delay. I like that you just see these needles just kind of slightly home in, and you get enough of them in there, and then you just watch, and there's a split second where you're like, it's going to happen, and then they all blow up. That's really fun. That's awesome.
Just pop, and then pink mist everywhere. That is
so Halo overall, they've had a really fun arsenal, and every single game has had a new type that's been fun, and so I think that Halo's done a really good job continually evolving new weapons that are fun. So good for Halo.
Also, I would say Halo is the first game that the pistol was a game that is a weapon that you want to keep and hold on to for as long as you can.
Agreed.
Oh, man. Agreed. I love that pistol. It felt so good.
What's funny is that I can't think of another pistol off the top of my head that was like that up until Titanfall 2, when you got the pistol in Titanfall 2.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I can't think of another like basic pistol that I wanted to keep the entire game, until Titanfall 2. Like, I hear that the game control is amazing. I haven't played it yet, but that one, she has a pistol, but it's like it'll change into different weapons. So I'm gonna hold off on that. I gotta play that game. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, guys.
It's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So next one, Josh. This one is yours.
Is mine, and I'm gonna say, like, the portal gun from Portal is such a cool weapon and so
cool.
Like, it's just the greatest mechanic, I think. I love it so much. But it's in other games as well. Like,
yes.
Like, right now I'm playing a bit of Terraria, and I just remembered, like, there's a portal gun in Terraria. It's ridiculous, but it's so much fun, and it's just cool to set up certain things. Like, I do like having a shooting mechanic with the portal gun, so you can use the portals as kind of a directing fire. Like,
yes.
So, but it's just a cool weapon. Like, it's so interesting.
I think my favorite part about the portal gun is that it's not actually a weapon. It's a tool.
It is a tool, and
it's a tool that can be used as a weapon.
And it is also kind of with the gravity gun, whatever.
Yep.
Like, it's using other things as that weapon while still not, like, being the tool to create the havoc with the weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was something that I loved, just the puzzle aspect of Portal and just how they made you think outside the box. They made you think about how to use the gun in different ways. They made you think about using everything from weight, velocity, direction, all those kind of things with the gun to make these puzzles work, or to destroy obstacles, or to get over obstacles. And that's just something that it made it for so many different types of gaming you could have in that one game.
Oh yeah, just absolutely great that way.
Yeah. So we go from the most versatile tool / weapon in gaming to one of the classics, but it's pretty much the exact same no matter how you cut it, and that's the Vampire Killer Whip from the Castlevania series.
No, like, there are a few. I mean, like, the Flame Whip from Simon's Quest, that was a super upgrade, and the Chain Whip. They're all
still whips, though.
They're all
still based around that same mechanic.
Yeah, and until much later on, it was pretty much it was just a straight sword, pretty much, just in a whip form. So,
and
it was also very iconic. It made Castlevania, like, it was just a part of that.
Well, it being you holding a cross and the top turns into a whip, and some of the different power-ups was like a mace on the end. Like you said, a fire whip. And also in the older one, or not the older ones, the newer ones, the 3D ones, you were able to create combos, like Gears of War, not Gears of War, God of War and whatnot. I loved those ones. Just saying, everyone play it. It's amazing. Sure, it's got God of War-esque controls and mechanics, but it is so good. Any of those are good. The classic ones are fun for what they are, but if you want a good 3D platformer, those are awesome.
Also, one thing I really liked that I just wanted to put a little pin on that is with Castlevania, they've done really well at keeping the vampire killer. Like we were talking about it being the Belmont's whip. Because, I mean, let's just say best Castlevania ever, Symphony of the Night,
arguably.
You're playing as Alucard, and there is no whip. There's no whip that you can get as Alucard, because that's not a weapon for someone else. It's a Belmont. But then once you get, Richter, and then you can actually play with the whip. It's crazy.
Yeah. So this is me not playing Castlevanias until years later, but me only hearing them in passing, because I didn't play my first one until Symphony of the Night, but I played it in high school. It was after it had already come out. But the fact that I didn't get the Alucard as Dracula backwards just made me feel like a giant dumbass, like 100%. I've never felt like that embarrassed in my life. I remember people like, Alucard is so awesome. Like, yeah, he's dope. Like, it's kind of dumb that his name is just Dracula backwards. And I was like, what?
Wait a minute.
Go back.
Wait a minute. Let me look this up. Yeah.
My dumbass got out a piece of paper and I spelled out Alucard, and I was like, motherfucker. All right, well,
holy crap.
That's how dumb I was about that game. And so, yeah, it's saying something. I should have been better. It was my bad.
Well, but I mean, they actually used it as part of the lore and everything, because it was his mother wanting him to break the cycle from his dad, and kind of being the reverse of his dad, which he kind of became. So I can kind of understand.
That's a really nice way to clean up a really bad name.
Yeah, that's true.
like they went, well, what are the story options to spin this? They're like, well, we can say that his mom named him that because she wanted him to be everything opposite of Dracula. Or plan B, we could just say that Dracula wanted Dracula Jr. and they agreed maybe just Alucard. No. Yeah, no. Alucard. Because Dracula Jr. sounds like a cereal box. It doesn't sound like somebody who should be empowered to fight Dracula. So maybe that's what happened. We don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
yeah.
Anyways, let's.
Okay, that's a side note. We should do an episode about dumb game lore, like game lore that happened because of just a mishap. Like, for example, Final Fantasy X. The reason why he's called Tidus, like Teedus, and that's how people like you have to call him that way, is because the person who did the voiceover for the trailers read Titus as Tidus.
In other words, he was drunk and just couldn't read.
The dude just didn't like. I mean, Titus usually is supposed to be Titus if it's like Greek or Roman style, right? But like it's a
name that's been. Anyways, yeah, this is not the podcast.
But they were like, hey, we paid for that. What are we gonna do? And they're like, I guess his name is Tidus now. And then there's been fighting ever since. That's what happened. Anyway,
really, what happens is they didn't go back and say, hey, you're a dumbass. Learn how to pronounce. Do it over.
It wasn't in the budget to re-record, Josh.
You slap the guy and say happened. You messed up. All right. So this one I put on here, but I needed to argue and I needed to question about it, is the blue shell and the bullet bill power-ups in Mario Karts.
I love them. They're the best.
See, and I really like them too, because they're like levelers. Like they take and level the curve a bit. Because like,
here's the thing.
Go ahead.
My biggest thing with this is that people get mad about the blue shell. I only get mad about the blue shell if it is the third lap and you are 3/4 of the way done. I feel like that's a cop-out to just knock the first place person out of first place. I think that's bullshit. But the blue shell at any other point in time, I think is totally fair.
Okay, I could see that. I could see how it would be a fun power-up if it was... if it had a time frame that it stopped at a certain point.
Yeah, because I've literally had the finish line in sight, and I've seen a blue shell take me out, and then 4 other people fly past me because they bump into me and all that crap. And I'm like, okay, that I'm calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, it would be a fun mechanic for if you got them early. But then again, you have people they could have it the very first power up and they just hold it.
That is true.
End, so
that is true.
It's hard to play that way. I really love the bullet bill. Like you had mentioned the blue shell, but I love the bullet bill power up.
Well, the bullet bill power up is just so then the back of the pack has a chance to try and make up some space. It's not ever going to take you to first. It's always going to take you to like maybe 4th, 5th.
Maybe if that, but it's still, it gives you, like, if you had some bad luck, it gives you that chance to redeem yourself a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's also that's the power up that definitely evens the playing field for people who just aren't that good, which is something that Nintendo's amazing about.
Yeah,
is that somebody who's doing terrible can get the bullet, and they're like, "Well, I didn't finish last. I maybe got 10th," and that's cool because then they still feel like they can play, but it's not like they were gunning for first by using it, you know?
Yeah, it's not going to take you from last to first, and all of a sudden screw everyone else. So,
yeah, exactly.
That's true, and I do like that about Nintendo. They are really good at keeping everyone in the game.
True. Okay, so this one I'm gonna run with this one because this is pretty much it's probably tied for my favorite game on the NES.
Oh yeah,
and that's River City Ransom and the power ups you can get from there.
And there's a lot of them, but I mean, really, when it comes down to it, Dragon Feet for me. Dragon Feet.
Yeah. There's Dragon Feet, Stone Hands, and Acro Circus. Those are the three main ones, and that makes it so then your kicks you kick 3 times rather than 1 time in the span of one punch or kick's worth of space.
And the way the hitboxes are set up, it actually hits them 3 times. Like,
yep,
it's nice that way.
Yeah, it was super effective, and pretty much like I can't say I've beaten it. I did watch my brother. He beat the game without Dragon Feet and Stone Hands, and it looked so hard. I went, no, thank you, pass. I'll never do that.
That's dumb. You rush, you make as much money as you can really quick before you get to that first market, buy Dragon Feet, and you're done.
Well, you start off with $20, and it only costs $26.55 or something like that.
No,
so
you
need to make just $7.
It costs more than that, doesn't it?
Nope. It's $24.95. That's what it is. It's $25. So you need to make $5 before the first mall, and that's it.
Holy! I'm thinking of something different. Maybe I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Grand Slam? No. Grand Slam's the cheap one. Merlin's Wand is $200.
I can't even remember. Anyways, but yeah,
and that's an honorable mention on River City Ransom. Did you ever get Grand Slam? You go to the secret passageway in the tunnel, and Grand Slam.
I went there, but I never bought it because I never really cared. I never really cared about the carrying stuff.
Oh my gosh, I got it wrong.
Once you have Dragon Feet, it was just like kick everyone in the face.
It's true, but Grand Slam is the exact same type of power up for weapons. That's what Grand Slam is, and that's $60. And then the one I'm talking about, another one that people didn't know about, is a trick my brother taught me. Isis Scroll. What it is that it doesn't actually do a power up like this. What it does is that it increases your throwing by 20. So
really,
if you got 5 of those, you would max out your throwing to 99. While you're running, if you throw, you can kill most bosses, about half of them.
Whoa! I didn't even know about that one.
That was my brother's. He like went through and he figured out stats and stuff, and then he just told me all the good ones. And yeah, so that was one that like it's in that magic shop that's in the secret spot in the tunnel, and that was like one, and it's only like $20. So you buy it 5 times, you spend $100. But then you throw any weapon without running, and you'll kill a regular guy. You throw while jumping or throwing or running, and you'll kill like the twins and stuff. the purple shirted twins. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, that's River City Ransom.
Yes, yeah, all those. Anyways, yeah.
So I'll lead this one too, man, because this one is since I've got 4 of them in front of me right now, I should probably say that.
Yes.
This came up during like the 360, PS3, PS4 age, where there wasn't a whole lot to create iconic, like weapon wise, that I can think of off the top of my head. And that is the Gears of War Lancer, the Chainsaw Lancer specifically.
Like we kind of talked about how weapons became iconic for a game and like kind of iconic for, the visuals of that game. I would say the Lancer is probably the best example of that.
So far, there's one further down, but I agree. And I think this one also kind of was iconic for the 360 overall.
It really was. I mean, it was this awesome rifle with a big chainsaw on the front. I mean, yeah, who doesn't want a chainsaw rifle? Like,
and even for that time, A+ to Epic for the graphics that they created. Their rain graphics were incredible for the time, and all of the stuff was in engine, which was incredible. And all of the animations when you use that chainsaw were just money. They were really good.
They were pretty graphic and visceral. That's the word I was wanting to find. But like seriously, I never really cared for the Gears of War, but still that Lancer is amazing. And it's super like you once you see it, you know what it is.
Yeah. So. And when I say I have 4 in front of me, I have 4 replicas. 1 from Gears of War 2, 2 from Gears of War 4, and 1 from Gears of War 5. And that is a part of it that actually I think adds to like how awesome the Lancers are. These are full-size replicas, and I gotta say, I love collecting them just because it just bringing a video game item into real life is just like the coolest thing you can do. I love statues. I have a Master Sword. I have a Halo Energy Sword. And honestly, I'm a sucker for replicas. That's just me. I have a Borderlands pistol. But the Lancers are the biggest items I have, and they all are full-size rifles plus some. And it's cool to have them. So A+ to Epic for, continually to do props and everything. They're doing through like PDP right now, which is awesome. But yeah, I think that's another reason why they became so iconic.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just an awesome, fun idea. Like, these are the kind of ideas that you would have in a video game. Like, that's really, no one's going to make a chainsaw rifle and actually have it makes a lot of sense. But in a video game, it's the best sense ever.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. They actually did, it was either the History Channel or Mythbusters or something, but they did like, would a chainsaw be a good item to have on an assault rifle as like a hand-to-hand combat weapon? And it was a resounding no, because chainsaws aren't built to cut through meat. Yeah. But it's just funny because they were like flat out like, no, even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not a good idea, because yes, it'll cut, but it's going to rip. It's not going to cut, and it's going to get jammed. And it's just so funny. But the idea is just like pure testosterone. It's awesome. I'm going to give it a pass.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. The next one, dude, I had like 3 in a row. The next one after this is yours. The next 4 are yours, and I will just ride with it. Okay.
No worries.
Right. So this one, it's the next evolution for this character, but I think this was probably the best one done, and that's the Leviathan axe for God of War on PS4.
Seriously, I actually was going to buy a life-size graphic of it, because this is such a beautiful axe. Seriously. Yes. I absolutely love this.
I loved the mechanics of it. I didn't know what they were going to do with it when they first announced that he wasn't going to have his Chaos Blades, because the Chaos Blades are the iconic one for that game. And so I was very interested to see how they were going to take the game if they weren't going to use the Chaos Blades as the main weapon. But the axe and shield combo, actually, it made a ton of sense. And the effort and the skill that they put into creating those as the battle mechanics, it was amazing how they used them. I thought they were incredible.
Also, I like knowing a little bit about what's going on with the stories and everything. Like, it also kind of added to like how and who he was in this next one. He was a father, a husband. He lived out in the forest, and he was taking care of this. He wasn't just going up against gods. He was, the Chaos Knight Blades were for a specific purpose, I thought. And this Leviathan axe did a lot more than that, I think.
Yeah, there was a certain amount of versatility that you got with it that you didn't see with other ones. The fact that it was kind of like Mjolnir, Thor's Mjolnir, where you were able to throw it and it would return and everything. But also just the combination between that and using the shield and everything was just a really cool back and forth. It was a really good additional weapon. Every single God of War has had awesome weapons, but that one was just a really good base one. And I do appreciate that later in the game, you did get the Chaos Blades as well.
I didn't get there.
Dude.
I know. I had to return the game, man. And I should have.
God, you have missed out on all the PS4 generation, and it breaks my heart, son. Come on, man.
All except for Aloy in her beautiful Horizon Zero Dawn.
Here's what's sad. We didn't even throw any of Aloy's weapons on here. We could have done a Tripcaster.
No, seriously. Like, they're cool and all, but I mean, her best weapon is a bow and arrow. Like,
yeah,
Like,
and I thought about doing like the bow and arrow for her or for the Lara Croft reboot, but you're right. There's cooler
it's a
weapons.
bow and arrow, and there's it's better done in other things. Like personally,
That's true.
So
that's true.
Let's not get too worried about that. So the next one, little shout out to our buddy Richard.
Oh, Rich.
Oh, dude, he's a good man. I like that guy. The BFG 9000 in Doom.
Yep.
That gun was so fun. And
it was just the most ridiculous weapon ever. Even before you play the game, way back in the day, when you pulled out the little insert, the little booklet, it had BFG, and they literally said it's not like what you think it is or whatever. ID Software was great about tongue in cheek at the time, but everyone's like, it's big fucking gun, but like it's a Bioforce gun or whatever, like Biofusion or whatever it was. But that gun was amazing.
Well, and I want to say I love this weapon so much that I had to save it, like I did with most of everything in games. Like I had to save it, and then I realized I am at the end of the game and I still have all my ammo. Yeah. It was ridiculous. That gun was just fun.
It's true. And even in the old games, like when you fired it, the entire screen blanked out, like complete white almost. And then you just saw everything was dead. Like you saw this big orb that had just cleared an entire room. Only the larger bosses would survive a BFG shot. But pretty much everything within your path was just decimated.
Yeah, and it was so awesome just to clear out the room with one shot, and just it felt good.
Yeah, it felt badass.
All right.
Yeah.
So
this one
to Richard.
Originally I wrote this one for me, but this is more so for Josh than for me.
Well, let's also add one others for you. The Buster Sword in Final Fantasy VII. Like this, I don't think this is a great, amazing weapon, honestly. But it's so iconic.
Yep.
Like it definitely shows Final Fantasy VII. Like that is Cloud in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, well, dare I say, this one just represents Final Fantasy entirely. This one represents Final Fantasy as a whole. No other weapon. If you were to say Final Fantasy, this is the weapon that 95% of people are going to think about. I
don't know. Because you have some really good weapons. Like, I mean, even the Gunblade in Final Fantasy VIII was pretty cool.
Which I loved that. Eventually get a replica of that.
Like, seriously. And, like, the mechanic of, like, if you can time it right, you can actually fire off a shot as well. Like, that was a cool weapon. The Buster Sword, it was the beginning weapon. It wasn't anything super special. It looks freaking awesome. And the fact that, especially in the remake, him moving that sword and showing his strength, but also the weight of it, that's a cool mechanic. And it looks awesome. Yeah.
And they also did that, and the way that they created and evolved the Buster Sword for Advent Children, I loved that. I thought that was awesome.
That was such a cool upgrade to this very iconic look and everything. Yeah, that was super cool.
It was just it, but yeah, when I think Final Fantasy, even though it's not my favorite one, if I were to pick one weapon that represented, it would be the Buster Sword, hands down.
Well, and really, you kind of have that giant sword kind of copied in ways. Like, I would say a better looking sword is definitely the Brotherhood. Like that from Final Fantasy X. That sword was beautiful. Yeah, and even in a way, like Lightning Sword, it's kind of this, larger, bigger saber type of thing. Like it kind of came from that, but I guess it came earlier than that, because I think the warrior in the second Final Fantasy had a giant sword. Yeah. I don't remember.
I think that also this one being the first one with 3D graphics, like Final Fantasy VII being the first one with 3D graphics and all that kind of stuff, I think that also added an element to it where suddenly people are like, holy crap, look at how big this sword is. Look at it as compared to the character build. That's awesome. It's like a 6 foot long sword. Oh my gosh.
It was a sword that was as big as Barrett, but, and Cloud was smaller than Barrett. It was like, that's crazy. It was bigger than the character. I love that.
It was good. It was really good.
All right, so this one's just going to be real quick because I haven't played it. I don't know.
I have, so I can vouch for it.
You do it. You do it then.
Okay. So Josh put this one, but all he wrote was, "I haven't played it, but Bayonetta's hair seems amazing."
Yep.
You are correct, sir. Yes, it is. It is really good.
It's such a cool concept to me. Like, all of her weapons, and they're all badass, is her hair.
Yeah, like an honorary mention to her heal pistols, because that's awesome. But
yeah,
her hair being a witch and using her hair to create everything from gigantic monster dragon mouths that bite your enemies to a big old stiletto heel that kicks them as hard as you can or creates like blades and stuff. That's awesome. Bayonetta's gameplay is some of the most fun gameplay ever. The story makes little to no sense, and the one-liners are super cheesy. However, the gameplay, because of the hair mechanic in fighting and the pistols, it's super fun. It's a really, really cool weapon. And it's like, I feel like Sega does better when they're just focusing on games. They don't need to focus on a console, because they did amazing with Bayonetta 1 and 2. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. But yeah, it's just a cool concept of like, it's her clothes, but like, it's just so many things that all just kind of work together. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was very fun to play, and I highly recommend it. If you are into beat 'em ups with combos and everything, that's a really good one too. It's in the same vein as Devil May Cry and God of War and all those. So give it a shot. Just don't expect to get very far with the story. That's all.
Yeah, at least she's pretty.
Yeah.
All right. So last one we have on here. This is pretty close and near and dear to my heart. Is the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade.
Yep, it's a good one.
It was such a cool, simple mechanic. Like, it's just a knife, but the way it's set up, how it's done, and just how beautiful and simplistic it was. It's just a cool weapon.
Yeah, and it was something that, once again, a weapon that defines the entire genre. They've added it to all these different types of secondary weapons. You know, like it was in a cane. It was a couple other ones where you have the idea of a hidden blade. But the first one really was the one that just set everything apart, and it was just really interesting. And
it was just this knife that was literally strapped to your arm that would slide out. I mean, it's stupid simple. Like, why hasn't everyone thought of this long before? But it's such a interesting and iconic idea to that game.
Yeah. And the perch kills were like you're on top of like a building or something like that, and you would jump and take them down with the blade.
Yeah.
That was something that was just it's just a cool mechanic. You watch that and you feel like a badass.
Yeah, or like, I love those early on in the games where you'd come up and you'd grab a guy and you'd stab him, and then you'd place him on the bench and walk away. Like, those were the kind of gameplay moments that were just amazing, and it was all due to that little weapon.
Yeah, it was all built around that stealth weapon that it was supposed to be. I feel like in the beginning it was supposed to be very singular use, like in the game, but then people loved how the mechanic was, and then they just built off of that. Even the developers, when they were developing it, they're like, this is a really cool mechanic. We need to do more with it, have more options, more animations. We have to make it so that it's not just one type of attack, it's multiple types of attack. So it was a very cool mechanic.
And I like that, like, because I think it was in 3 with Connor, like, you could start using it as a weapon. Like, he would like go against, like, across throats and stuff like that, like different things like that. Not just a stab, you're dead, walk away. Like, it was more of a thing that he used as a weapon, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I will say, I don't think they needed like grappling hooks and everything connected to it. I thought it was just a cool, like, just being a knife there. Anyways.
Well, I mean, how many do they have? How many Assassin's Creed games do they have? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, Revelations, Black Flag, Unity, Syndicate. So they were, and then you have Odyssey, you have Origins.
Now they're coming out with Valkyrie or
Valhalla.
That's it.
So they had to evolve it again and again and again, which we get, but also they're holding on to a mechanic that they love. But it's part of the franchise. You got to have it.
I don't know. I mean, I think 3 did it really well. It was still just a knife, but then it's like, yeah, but Connor also has a bow and arrow. Like,
yeah,
hey, we're gonna need to shoot something cool. Like, a bow and arrow works probably a lot better. So anyway,
it's true. Anyway, so that is our first episode of most interesting weapons and power-ups in gaming. There were ones that we left off that I wanted to talk about. We'll do this one again. Totally do it again.
This is fun. This will be a good one.
Yeah. Anyway, hope you liked it. Josh, we keep on talking about it. It is official. We need to actually do a giveaway one way or another.
Yes. We've both been stupid busy in our heads. So
yeah. But whether it's going to be a couple of my prints or it's going to be a gift card or something else, we're going to do a giveaway. And I think we're going to announce it probably after this one launches, after this podcast drops.
Cool.
Yeah. So everybody be on the lookout for that. Hope you liked the episode. And obviously at the end of the stinger, you know how to like and follow all of our social channels and everything. So we hope you liked it, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Geek Reloading Podcast with Adam and Josh. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a question? Email us at geekreloading@gmail.com. Theme song titled Rocket by Kevin MacLeod. You can rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast service.